Hello everyone, and welcome to Why No One Uses Veluza. It is finally here. I'm just getting a lot of this done the day of, but this is just going to be a video that has been long awaited. I understand it took a while, but from here on out, it's going to be a lot shorter because figuring out the format was really it. So I just want to mention it right now. A large percentage of people who watch my videos are not subscribed, so if you like my content, please subscribe as it is free, and you can actually also make sure to ring the bell because that'll notify you when the next upload comes. Now, the next thing I want to go over is just kind of a lot of what's going to be for the future of this. This series is just going to analyze only the Terra Raid battle things, unless I otherwise state within said video. So I will not be using Veluza's data for competitive because it just sucks for competitive. Like, there's no other way to put it. And that's just how some Pokemon are. That it's not going to be that like that for everything, but I do feel that it is necessary to go over the performance of Veluza in Terra Raids because I think that's where it actually shines. So, and a lot of people don't believe that because it is hard to use. And that's the unfortunate thing about it. So, just make sure, and I'm going to be showing the stats of Veluza right now. They're pretty middling, like, across the board, which is part of the reason why it is not good in a lot of scenarios. So Veluza also has a lot of stuff that kind of helps it, like Fillet Away. A lot of people probably would think, why would you use this if you're going to risk dying in one hit? And to note why it's good, you actually don't build it with god damn it, OneDrive. Um so well, outside of attack, I forgot. Attack is 102 base and HP is 90 base, which isn't bad for those stats. But whenever it's 70s and 60s across the rest of it, it feels like you would use it for the physical side. But it has stored power, which a lot of people probably didn't know. And you'll be seeing that set be run throughout my recording of gameplay that is being shown. And the best way to build Veluza is to actually buff up its defenses on the EV spread and then go for a stored power set. But you can use it in other ways, like a crit build, because it does, in fact, get a bunch of crit moves and focus energy as well. So you can actually go for a focus energy set and also go for Fillet Away with it. You hit one Fillet Away, one focus energy, and then go critting with whatever you feel. Or if you have somebody to assist you, you can have somebody uh, you, Dragon Cheer you, and you'll actually get the benefit. So there's a lot to Veluza that makes it very usable. Like, the time that I was originally going to record this was before Dragon Cheer, so this does actually change it a lot. However, Veluza in solo raids, which you're going to be seeing here, performs worse than it does in multiplayer raids. Now, that is because you can have somebody heal you and you can fillet away really fast, rapidly, and then put a psychic terrain up and then stored power on turn 5, and you will kill a lot of enemies. It actually is a very good strategy, it just requires the right team. And what you're seeing recover here which is just as a just-in-case move for it. It's kind of the same reason I think a bunch of other mons use it. Like with Roost, with Espathra, I believe it has Roost. I could be wrong. But it does have a healing move, I do know that. But basically, it's the same idea applied differently. But the stored power is going to benefit you. So, like, let's say you run somebody with fake tears, you just drop the less fillet aways and you kill with stored power still. Because fillet away, if you give 3 turns to Veluza to give fillet away, on turn 4, it's going to hit you with one of the strongest stored powers that you can get without 2 mons. Which is, if I remember right, so that's 18 times 20 for the boosts. That would be a 380 base power stored power, to give you an idea. Because it's 20 plus 20 base power for everything, and that's before stab. I don't know if stab increases that further. If stab increases that further, then that would be not times 50, it's times 1.5. That would be like 570 base power to hit. That's a very powerful move if it works like that. If not, it's 390. But think about that. That is a lot of potential. Now, the thing about this is that Veluza being hard to use really is what makes it difficult for most people to do it. Now, another thing that matters, you noticed I'm mentioning stored power mostly because that's really its best bet, which means that you're going to go for an EV spread of its defenses of HP and plus either defense or special defense, because its defenses are that bad to the point that you have to do it that way. So you cannot use this in mixed raids and make it work. I have tried, it did not work out for me, and so you either go for one or the other. And that is the unfortunate part for Veluza, as it is not very strong in that department. But the good things about it is that you can literally just decide. You can also get Pain Split, by the way. That's another thing you can do for it. I just noticed that. That's probably a new move it got before I had even done more research. If Pain Split heals you to max, then always Pain Split after using Fillet Away. That way, you always go back up to max. I will be testing this, and I will post a comment later today, if not tomorrow. If not the day after, because I've already recorded some stuff, and so I have the time. But, first things first are going to be what makes Veluza hard to use, and that is, obviously, Fillet Away. Like, that is such a useful move that a lot of people don't realize how good it is. Because it's like a belly drum that's spread out to 3 stats, which at first sounds really terrible. But when you realize that you can just boost your attack really hard and boost your special attack really hard, it suddenly becomes, and it gives you speed, suddenly it becomes very valuable. Like, you can do 2 fillayaways after getting a heal, and then do a lot of stuff with that. Like, if you're going to go physical Veluza, instead of Mold Breaker, you use Sharpness. Like, it has fantastic abilities, because you get Psycho Cut, Night Slash, and let's see, what else do you get? Aqua Cutter, Slash. Those are all crit moves, and it gets focus energy as well. All you just do with this mon is build it for either crits or you build it for stored power. But to get to that point where it ends up being super strong, it has to actually utilize fillet away. But to utilize fillet away, you have to actually just boost your defenses, which is unfortunate for most mons. But because of uh, how much you've got with Veluza, you can build it in so many ways. Like, there are other ways to use it. It does get other things on top of that that are good for physical. The only way you're using Veluza for special is the stored power, though. I will say that much, because its stored power is very strong, but it's the only way you're going to be using it, especially. Now, as for what can it do support-wise, it has Chilling Water, Icy Wind, it has a Rain Dance Snowscape, nothing too crazy, basically. But it at least has some stuff, but it doesn't have much. So oftentimes you're going to be running this as an attacker, which means that but it's a setup oriented attacker, which oftentimes, if you're going for one shots, the fastest one shots are not going to do setup attackers. They're going to have uh, other people setting up for them, and then they attack, usually. And that's the key difference, is that a lot of mons just don't have that. So they don't have that luxury, why would you use that over it? And that's really why I think a lot of what Veluza comes down to is it's difficult to use, and it's a setup based mon, which is super unfortunate for a lot of reasons. Like 7-star raids, it doesn't get used because of it. And 6-star raids, it can do 6-star raids, you just have to be careful with how you do it. And it has to be built for either its physical or special bulk to be able to handle it, unless you are not running fillet away. Which, if you're not running fillet away, you're not really running the mon correctly, which is sad, because I think that this mon does have potential, but that potential is hindered by being outclassed by other mons in other areas, despite Veluza's unique setup. And if you're running stored power, you're running Molt Breaker, obviously. Like, it has two great abilities, honestly. So, the fact that its stats hold it back, like it's 70 speed, it's 65 special defense, and it's 73 defense, are all what hold it back the most. You start to see why people don't use it, basically, at that point. But is this mon truly bad? I'd say no. You just have to know how to use it, which is why I'm like, okay, Voltorb strat in Charizard was kind of cool. Like, this is why I'm like, okay, these mons can work. They just take understanding the game. Sorry. It's just, oftentimes, a lot of people don't understand them. And so, you can ask me about a lot of mons, and obviously I'm going to be going through mons that people do and don't use. And that will be what I do for Terra raids, is if this mon is used, why is it so heavily used? And Iron Hands is a great example of a mon that is heavily used, because Belly Drum into a lot of options it has work. Like, you can do Belly Drum close combat and have Shell Bell heal you back up, or Belly Drum Supercell Slam, and if you miss, you die. But it's funny, but it doesn't work because it does work because it kills really quick. But Veluza requires teams to kill quick. But oftentimes, because other setups work faster, people don't use it, which means that it's just outclassed heavily in that area. And I think with Gen 10, if they made raids with this and this mon was available, I feel like if they made the raids harder to one-shot, then Veluza might be used. But that is really the only way Veluza gets used, is if a lot of times what it is they could maximize the amount of damage you do in one hit, and then on top of it, make it where they could do a lot of things. Like, if it's stored power, they probably would figure out something. Like, they could make it based on stat boosts or something else, and Veluza might get used. It really depends on how they adjust it, or if they just buff Veluza, or even give it an evolution. Like, I feel like this mon, because it has a lower base stat total, in the future may get an evolution. Like, it has a base stat total of 478, just to give you an idea. So, it is relatively weak, and that is why it really doesn't have much going for it. But, I think this mon does have a lot to it that you can do with it. It's just in an unfortunate state in current sets of terror raids. Like, it has a very good move pool, a very good ability, but its poor stats in comparison to all of that prevent it from being the one that is consistently used optimally. And that should really cover pretty much everything I have to say for it. So I hope you all enjoyed this shorter video that does analyze some of why Veluza does and doesn't work in some ways, but I do think that this mon works in a raid battle where the attack stats are set to one side and they don't have good attacks for the other side. So if you always keep that in mind, you can use this mon. And so I hope you all enjoyed this video, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.